Revenge films.
One day, my husband and brother-in-law came home together and told me that there was something they wanted to talk to me about. Besides my husband, his brother had also brought my niece with them, so I wondered what it was about. I had a few guesses in my mind, as my husband sent our niece out of the living room into our kids' room. I figured maybe this was about bullying, but the reality was so much worse than that. It all started last month, when my niece had a rash at school and was sent home early. She came home to her mother, my sister-in-law, having sex with her cheating partner, and she saw it all. My niece was in her second year of middle school, but she had never had a boyfriend yet, and she was a pretty sheltered kid with ideals of love. This innocent niece saw her mother and a man she didn't know slamming their bodies against each other. It was a sight straight out of hell. Ever since then, my niece would have to throw up just at the sight of her own mother. It wasn't until a few days after the incident that my brother-in-law noticed. In the beginning, her mother had told her to keep her mouth shut, so my niece wasn't able to speak about the affair or what she had seen to her father. Her hatred towards her mother only grew, and because of the stress, she started throwing up frequently. And because of that, she was also unable to go to school. At the same time, she couldn't stay home and be near her mom, so she'd go to the library and sit alone by herself all day until she was reported to her school. When my brother-in-law found out about the entire situation, he was shocked. At the time, he was on a business trip in the neighboring state. But since the mom didn't pick up on the phone when the school called, they called the second emergency contact, which was the father, and explained everything to him. My brother-in-law said to me that his daughter now throws up just by being home and remembering what she saw, and asked if we wouldn't mind letting her stay with us for a while. He kept looking down and could see the pain written all over him, but there was no way that we would ever want our niece to stay in such a hellish environment. So of course, we agreed. Luckily, we live in the suburbs, so we had plenty of room for her, and because our kids were still really little, they were a lot younger than her. At first, they hesitated and would ask if they could play with her, but in no time, they became really close and would always chase after her or beg her to play with them. It seems like my niece also likes kids, and I'm grateful that she actually enjoys playing with them. It's a huge help to have her looking after them around the house. Ever since the incident, my niece hadn't been going to school, but because she hadn't done anything wrong in the situation, her father couldn't force her to go. He was also stuck in a difficult situation. We lived in a different district from my brother-in-law's families, so the school districts were different as well. Regardless, we also didn't want to force our traumatized niece to go to school either. Back in the day, I used to work part-time as a tutor for high school students, so I was able to help my niece with her middle school studies and homeschool her a little. Thanks to my husband, I was a full-time housewife anyways, so even during the weekdays, I was able to teach my niece, to which she said, "I love the way you teach, Michelle. It's so easy to understand." Really? I did used to work part-time as an in-house tutor. My niece was a great student, and the more I taught her, the more she would swiftly absorb it. On the weekends, we would make an effort to go out of the house as a family, including my niece. Let's go to the park today to look at the cherry blossoms. I'll pack a few lunch boxes and we can have lunch in the park. You're going to make lunch boxes? I want to help. Of course, let's do it together. On the weekdays, we would study at home, and on the weekends, we would go out. And as we repeated this, my niece slowly started to show her old self again. Her appetite was much better than what it was when she first arrived at our house, and it seemed like she was finally able to sleep normally, too. On the other hand, my brother-in-law was moving forward with his divorce from his cheating wife. We couldn't believe it, but my brother-in-law found out that his wife was stealing from the savings account that he had been slowly building up for his daughter's college funds in order to pay for the hotels for her affair. There should have been $20,000 in the account, but he found it to be completely emptied out. That's when the two of them had run out of money to have their affair elsewhere. So she'd brought the man into her house and was caught by her daughter. Apparently, my sister-in-law tried to stand her ground, saying, "If she hadn't come home early from school, nobody would have found out." When I heard that from my brother-in-law, I knew that they could not let a woman like that have custody of the child. That being said, my brother-in-law was a director at his company with a fairly high status, but it also meant that he had a lot of business trips. If he were to take her in by himself, it would mean that he would be leaving an 8th grade girl at home all alone for multiple nights in a row. He seemed to be really stressed out about it, so we told him, "Don't worry, our family will support you in any way that we can. So no matter what, don't let your wife win the custody battle." When my husband and I said that to his little brother, my brother-in-law hung his head low once again and apologized.
"I'm so sorry for all the trouble we've caused you and your family. It's our precious niece's future on the line. If not for you, then we would do anything for her too. So please, give your ex-wife the punishment she deserves. I'll do my best."
After that, my brother-in-law sued not only his wife's cheating partner, but also his wife, and collected a settlement fee from the both of them. The lawyer sympathized with the fact that the child saw the exact scene of her own mother's affair, and he went after the two of them for every penny that he could. Apparently, my sister-in-law was way more into her partner and was the one to pay for all of the hotels and whatever else. As for him, the company found out about the affair, and because he worked at a rival company from her husband, he was fired. Thanks to the lawyer, he still had a hefty settlement fee to pay. As for the wife, her parents came down from the suburbs to her house, and she had to explain to them the reason for the divorce. This made her mother explode.
"You showed a child one of the most horrific things in the world! What the hell were you thinking? Have some shame! Apologize to your husband and apologize to my grandchild!"
And apparently jumped on top of her, mounting her like a horse, as she delivered blow after blow. Her father got down on both knees to my brother-in-law, saying,
"I'm so sorry about this worthless daughter of mine. We will pay whatever fees you want to collect from her. I don't care what happens to this one anymore. But please, just take care of our grandchild."
And so the divorce was finalized, and my brother-in-law was able to collect a settlement fee from both his ex-wife and her partner. She was promptly kicked out of the house as soon as the divorce was finalized, and apparently she thought that she could just crawl right into her partner's place. But he was living in a company apartment. He was, of course, kicked out of this place as well after being fired. The both of them were left with nowhere to sleep and no money or income to spare. As a result, my sister-in-law lost her family, her house, and her money at the same time. But a woman her age wasn't able to find a high-paying job so easily, not even in the nightclubs or lounges. I heard a rumor that she was hanging out around the homeless these days. To be honest, I think she got exactly what she deserved. After all, she put her hands on her own daughter's college funds and wiped it clean, and showed her daughter a horrific scene that no child should ever have to walk into. After that, our niece officially moved into our house. My brother-in-law was debating whether or not to quit his job, considering how many business trips he had, and the amount of overseas trips that were about to increase. He didn't feel like he'd be able to look after his daughter like this. My husband and I both stopped him. "If you're not going to be here all the time because of your business trips, then we would be happy to take our niece in officially and raise her the way we've been doing these last few months. And whenever you're back from your business trips, you can just stay here with us too."
"But then, the weight that the two of you have to carry."
Not once have we ever felt like it was any weight at all. If anything, we're just happy that our family has gotten bigger. I'm sure that you think quitting your job could be an option, but in order for your daughter to be able to have a bright future, you're going to need some money. So let's all help each other. We're all family after all.
Seriously, thank you so much. I don't even know where to start with thanking you.
My brother-in-law thanked us through tears. Our niece transferred to the school in our district and has been going back to school now. We knew that we couldn't erase her trauma and that she was still holding in a lot of stress. But the change of environment seemed to be a really positive thing for her, and she was able to make friends quickly, and was even looking forward to going to school in the mornings. Our kids were thrilled when they found out that their favorite cousin would be moving in, and they followed her around even more than they did before. Our niece was an only child who said she had always wanted siblings, so she didn't seem to mind. Her father wasn't around much, and I guess her mother didn't pay much attention to her. either, so I can only imagine how lonely she must have felt in her own home. In our house, our 2 sons were a handful, and the house was always bustling with someone yelling, or crying, or laughing. For my niece, maybe that was exactly what she needed. It's not going to be an easy road ahead, but we're going to do our best to support and protect our niece in any way that we can. And at the very least, we want to make sure that she doesn't feel the same pain that she did when she was with her mother. My brother-in-law has also been able to put his all into his work, knowing that my husband and I are looking after his precious daughter. Of course, when he's home, we are one big family, and it feels like a party every night.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.